Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the ServiceMonster podcast. I'm your host, Joe Kowalski. Today, we're going to talk about the new schedule. It's something that we've been working on for a long time, and definitely a repair to the ServiceMonster 6 schedule. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll talk all about it. But before we do that, some housekeeping. Adam, what do we have for today?
Yeah, so just want to have a brief kind of shout-out mention. Anyone going to the experience, September 18th through 20th in sunny Las Vegas. Look for our booth. Skylar and Ned will both be there. Kind of ask any questions you guys might have. Just kind of stop and say hi, all that good stuff. So just kind of keep that date locked in. If any of the carpet cleaners out there. And
do a selfie or something by the booth and shout at me on social media, Joe, why aren't you here? And I'll say, because I have a 3-month-old. So that's why I'm not going, just FYI there. And shout out to everybody who goes to Connections or the experience, whatever you want to call it, regularly. We've been doing that show for a long time. It's unlikely we're going to not do that show just because we have such a presence. There's so many of our clients there. It's always good to say hey and chat them up. So definitely come check us out at the experience.
Yeah. The next big date, I'm going to let you share the fun details, October 1st. What's coming October 1st, Joe?
We will be raising our prices. Now, these are the prices on the website. So new clients will be paying $49 for Core, which is the current price for Core, but that's a brand new product. $99 for Pro and $149 for Enterprise. The basic differences, there's feature differences now starting October 1st. So there's some marketing stuff and inventory that's in Enterprise only. Core allows you 2 users and 1 route. Pro allows you unlimited users and up to 3 routes, 1, 2, and 3 routes. And then Enterprise is unlimited users, unlimited routes, full features. So that's kind of where we're at right now. If you are a current user or you purchase before October 1st, you'll be on our new price, our current pricing, which is $80 for Pro, $125 for Enterprise, and Core is the same at $49. So if you are on the fence and thinking about, hey, I should think about getting ServiceMonster, then know that you should be getting it now to save yourself the $19 times 12 a year on the subscription.
Plus, if they're only on the Pro level, you do have those drip campaigns there. They won't necessarily be there coming forward. So
that's right. Yeah, we got to play around with our costs here so that we can get dialed in as we scale and move forward, especially since our costs have gone up so dramatically on a couple of the services that we use. So, I talk about mining your margins. Well, my accounting department's starting to get on me about mining our margins. So that's where that's coming from. Yep. We haven't raised prices in...
It's been a long time.
2012, 2011.
I want to say it was
8 years.
7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that's the last time we raised prices. That's just kind of silly by any standard.
All right. So that's all kind of the big announcements. We can kind of jump into SMUG. Last time, since we were doing the webinar recap, we didn't dive into SMUG so much. So there's been a lot of mobile feedback, and I only grabbed one snippet because it just it was laid out. It was laid out very easily for us to kind of digest.
Right.
But anyone who's leaving feedback on the new mobile app, guys, we definitely appreciate it. We take all that into heart.
And you should be seeing that. I mean, we're turning that stuff around fast.
Right.
And the list is not that big. We know we need to address larger databases for sluggish performance. That has been our focus this week. That's what Brian's really been working on. He made some major strides, but he's still got a little bit of work to do for phase 1. That will then get published, and then there'll be a phase 2 after that, which will dial it in even more. I'm really excited by how much room we have to squeeze out of that lemon for real.
Yeah.
For real. So what he's already done we'll make a significant improvement on the release, and then we'll get an X factor on the second phase of that. So, and then all the feedback that you guys are throwing down in there, most of it now is turning into feature requests or a field that you would like to have.
Yep.
Some, like lead source on account.
Yeah, that was just an oversight.
That was just complete oversight. So thank you for continuing to point those out. Please do so. And then, bugs too. Be specific, though, for us. Let us know what OS you're on. Let us know what screen you were on and what you were doing. And if it crashes, what's best for us is if you can recreate it and then get us the info so that we can recreate it. And if we can't recreate it, because let's say the data is different, we may have to dive into your database and see if there's differences in the data. And that's kind of where we're at right now. It's very, very rare. We're seeing stuff at this point. I think all the main crashes have been completely addressed. I know one person had one crash at one point and he was like, I don't remember what happened and I can't recreate it.
Yep.
So when that happens, it's impossible for us to know. It's like, it's broke. What does that mean? Like, it's not like a car, you bring it in to diagnose, right? It's a little more complicated than that. So we need your help out there to get us that info.
It's especially, there's tons of different things on the PC side too, but you're typically, you have an iOS thing, you're on a PC, you're on Windows, right? Not many of our users are using Linux. Though if you are, more power to you. But on the mobile side, especially on Android, there's so many different, not just the operating system itself, but just the phones.
Just take a look at screen size. Just that one vector, right, can really play into how it performs and how it feels. So all those variables are important. So what was the question that you pulled?
Yeah. So the question was from Scott. First off, he kind of gave us some feedback, but he was talking about adding the on deck kind of functionality onto the schedule.
Right.
And just the way he laid it out, kind of what he was on. And I guess kind of the first point was laying it out like this, like you said, it helps us really understand the whole process.
Right.
It's not just...
He gave us a couple paragraphs.
Exactly.
Right.
And so just kind of mostly wanted to point that out, that if you are going to give us more info.
That's right.
Like you're saying.
Yeah, share. And what's great about mobile now, it's just like, breathe. It's a breath out, and I hear the clients breathing out too. It's like, finally, you guys got that shit right. It took a couple releases. It took a couple product launches, but now that you have it right, here's what I need.
Yep.
Right. And I think we're almost there. Not quite yet. There's another piece I want to do, which was a previous suggestion that I think is brilliant for single owner operators. And that is the ability to quickly and easily handle your accounts receivable on your phone. And so I really want to dial that in. I have some ideas about how we can approach that, but we have to get these two releases out for optimization and fixing these last couple moments of oversight. We're done with the high critical. We're done with the stupid, which we didn't really have any of those. And we're done with the, you didn't close that loop, or for me, my data is weird and it crashed. So that's all been addressed. So please challenge me on that. Find some stuff, go hunting for it. And if you find something, let me know via Messenger or go on SMUG or call or email support. Lots of info.
The next one was from Colby. He was asking for kind of some templates. Now on the podcast, I love showcasing kind of that feedback from various users, helping each other out. And the main person who posted was Paul. And I actually really like his templates for the most part. They're a little bit long, but his templates, they kind of get the point across and so on. And so if anyone else is in SMUG and has some other examples maybe to give Colby, it's a little bit older. I went back a little bit on some of these because, like I said, on the last podcast,
we've been out for like 3 weeks. Yeah.
So if you find that post from Colby and you are in there, kind of post your own. It definitely, creating copy and content is not necessarily everyone's forte. And so if you can find someone who will help you with that, or if you actually want to reach out and pay for that, obviously.
Well, I've been threatening this for a long time, but I think we're getting close to the point where I can do little projects like this. Plus, Ethan, anything I hand that kid now, he's just murdering. So I have to keep like a background thread. He's already like a third way through equipment tracking. But little things like, it's not that little, let's be clear. But I've always wanted to do this, and this is kind of a side project, which is you should be able to take your templates and publish them and make them accessible to a global network. And so anybody who's, wants to add a new template can go to the public repository and import those templates. That's just a real simple idea that I had for a long time. It's like build a community, right? That's sharing things out of that, what you put in, what you get out. So, and then I was thinking about being able to package them. You can put them on the marketplace, maybe optional paywall. So then people who actually spend a lot of time and build a packet of templates can, make a little cash. Not a huge thing. I don't think you'd want to charge more than 20 or 30, 40 bucks for it. And then at that point, is it really worth it? Or, you know what I mean? So I'm not sure where to go with it, but I sure would like to be able just to globalize templates on demand and then let people download them from the global space.
Yeah. Let's use this as our first kind of level of demand. Anyone watching this, if you guys think that's something you want,
hit us up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next
Leave
one.
in the comments below.
The next one is right around the same time, and really wanted to talk about it last podcast too, because it was so big as far as the feedback and turnout. The poll you made about the pop-up, about the schedule.
Oh, yeah. We got our ass kicked on that one. Talk about make me. Right? This is a perfect example of that. So you may have noticed the new schedule, and we'll talk about, and this is a good lead into our, well done. We're going to take us back a little bit, about a year. Aaron's working on the schedule. He's putting that tech in the quick ad, so it's proof of concept. It goes out. We're like, okay, yeah, let's start building the real next gen schedule. And a lot of conversation when Alex started it. Let's take the pop-up out. And everybody's like, huh? And then we talk. Oh, no, that makes sense. Oh, yeah, that's easier. Oh, it's less weird. Yeah, that was weird. And that, yeah. And you start dogpiling in all the use cases that we don't like because it's not as clean from a UI point of view. And so we said, okay, let's take it out, but let's make sure that we can solve these use cases. And so that's where the sidecar came in. That's where the expando and the details. And then we started getting, hey, I missed my pop-up. And I'm like, okay. I got asked twice within 24 hours. And I was like, that's it. I'm putting up a poll in SMUG. So I put up a poll in SMUG, and it was, yeah, no, it's good. It's clean. No pop-up. Or I liked my pop-up from 5. Or the pop-up from 6 did just okay. I like that one. Or, no, I need a pop-up, but make it something else.
Right.
Which nobody answered that one. And a couple of 5 users answered 5 just because they were trying to show 5 some love because they don't want it to go away. And then the overwhelming response is I like my 6 pop-up. And it was just like by crazy amounts. It was like squared the number of people who said, no, it's clean without the pop-up. So we're going to put it back in. Yep. That's just it. So Aaron's pretty much just going to go steal what we have got in the old 6 schedule pop-up, throw it in, put it behind a setting on your settings of your schedule. Yes, show pop-ups. Yep. We'll probably leave it off by default. I don't know. It's been so overwhelming. Is it just us trying to force the issue at that point? Should we just let them turn it off by default? Because they're obviously expecting pop-ups, but that's a discussion for the production table.
Right.
So, yeah, pop-ups. The SMUG community has spoken.
Yes. And so it's one other kind of time to just mention that too before we segue here is if you want your feedback to be taken and you want to be part of that community, reach out to us. We'll get you that SMUG application, make sure you're a good fit, and then boom.
Yep.
So then as a segue, like I said at the start of the show, the kind of feature focus here is the schedule.
The brand new schedule.
So last podcast, we were doing the kind of the webinar follow-up, really wanted to touch on mobile and like what that has meant to us and to our users and so on, and kind of just segueing the design philosophy from mobile being out in the field. I need to be able to do these actions quickly. If I'm owner operator, I got to do everything out in the field and so on, to the schedule, which is on the desktop app, which is going to be more of an office administrative kind of tool, and what they need to see and how it is going to be different in these scenarios. And I kind of want to start with the interesting tidbits that you found when we first were talking about this, back in maybe early this year, and kind of just the traffic of page views on the schedule.
So we do some metadata, right, in your use of ServiceMonster. So we track page hits and kind of behavior, so we know the best way to feed you guys information, as well as what feature sets and how we want to address those at scale, which is hard for some people because they're one, and their opinion is one, and their point of view is one. We have a handful of users who are able to think in terms of many, but not too many, right? You might get those really introspection guys of their service business who come at our point of view and go, oh, yeah, I can see, because you have a lot of users. Like, that's the phrase they'll use, and they'll go, oh, yeah, I can see. But they're usually thinking about 5 or 6 different scenarios. I mean, there's just hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds, just like physics. You take all those data points, you overlap them onto each other, and then what you've got is the spikes. Yep. And you look for those huge spikes at scale. And one spike that showed up was the fact that you guys stay on your desktop on ServiceMonster's schedule 600 times more than any other screen. That put into perspective goes, wow, that means any features that we do on the schedule that clean up the schedule, that make the schedule better, are way more valuable than even some of the more and most valuable changes and features on, let's say, accounts or orders, because of the quantity of uses that it could potentially get. And it's interesting the way you brought this up too, because it's kind of like it can take us through a journey of the mindset that we came to when we did it. This is our 6th schedule rebuild, or maybe even the 7th. I built 4 of them on my own. We got one off the shelf. Matt built one, and now this is the one that Aaron built. So this is a lot of schedule rebuilds. And I remember building one that never saw the light of day because it was too far advanced. It was 10 years ahead of its time. And because the browser wasn't yet tied into the GPU, into your video card, I choked the hell out of the rendering engine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was super fast to get the data back, though. It was like the way we're doing it now was the way I was doing it 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. And then when I tried to take that data and draw on the screen in real time, it went, Like, damn, XP, get out of here. So, So anyway, so we've done the rebuild on the schedule so many times. It's one of the corner jewels of ServiceMonster. ServiceMonster 5 was great. ServiceMonster 6 had great features and promise, but it just landed short, which made people feel like, well, 6 is great. It's got all these features and all these, the opportunity and the Kanban. You've got the dashboards and, you can go on and on and on. But if you live on the schedule and you like the schedule in 5 better, then you might just kind of hang out on 5.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. We are seeing movement now. I'm seeing people that never were in 6 now using 6 and then asking, hey, like the next thing, like, whoa, weren't you just on 5?
Yeah.
So that's kind of neat to see. So then this iteration of the schedule in 6 is kind of what we were hoping for out of 6.0 and all of the best bits out of 5. But then we put more on top. We can call it syntactical sugar, right? We made it lives easier. And before I kind of talk about how we did that, because I'll go into the specifics of the new schedule, but the evolution of the company is really interesting, and the talents that have we had to acquire in order to do certain things. When we started the company, Eric and Dave and I were all Fortune 500 developers. So we worked for a company that built software for massive call centers, essentially. It was an AutoZone subsidiary. And so we knew how to build software for people where we controlled the environment. You will have rule A, you will have rule B, and you will have rule C, and that is how you will do it. And so when we started ServiceMonster, though I had a product in the wild, so I'd already produced a successful product launch, and it was to the consumer, so it wasn't internally. I didn't hang around for the support side of that equation. I wasn't part of that at all. I was just the dev, right? So I was just the lead dev on that project. So when I started ServiceMonster, I didn't yet understand the difference between an internal application that you can control the SOP on and one that you're going to offer to the masses, because we'd always done enterprise stuff. And so when we first launched, people were like, oh, you don't force lead on me. Don't make me fill out lead source. I'm like, well, you want lead source. And they're like, but don't make me do it. I'm like, oh, you want to be flexible and configuration driven. So we took it out. And then we had the other half of the customers were like, how do I enforce lead source for my, it's like, no, we got to put it back in, but now we put it behind a button. So you go to your company settings and you say, yes, lead source is required. So that's kind of the evolution there. And so we learned real quick because we got burned. We got to give them open and configurable, and they need 20 different ways to do things because their workflows are going to be different. And we did that really, really well. And ServiceMonster 5 was kind of a culmination of that. ServiceMonster 6 is just whole next gen, which it does that well, but it does far beyond basic record keeping, which is what 5 was really, really good at, right? Because that's all it was. It's just a bunch of file cabinets. Yep. And so when we started mobile, we took that baggage with us. Let's make sure they have ServiceMonster on the phone and we just overdid it. Mobile 3 was way too much. It tried to be all of the file cabinets, and people are looking at other apps that are simple that just have a button and a couple fields and then the next and the next. And that's where Mobile 3 really fell apart. Because it did a lot of stuff, but half the people didn't know where to find that stuff to do those things. It was just too hidden, too neat, too tidy, and then there were some other issues with it too, like connectivity and so forth. So not only it was too full of stuff, too complex, but then you had data issues on top of that. So that wasn't fun. And so when we went to rebuild Technician, and again, I'm freaking out about where we're at in mobile. So I'm staying up between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. at night, and I'm looking at new technologies and new layouts and new designs, and I'm looking at what other people are doing. And then it dawned on me, oh, no, this is process driven. This is all got to be use case. And in this case, in order to build a use case, you have to tell them A, B, C, D. Do it like that. And when we did that, a resounding cheer for the Technician app. Whoa, this is so simple. Okay, we figured out the unlock codes. And so then we were able to build that onto the new app, which now that's going to be the one ring that rules them all, right? So all those other apps will eventually just die. But so what's interesting is we came full circle. Now we're looking at the app, right? The desktop. And we're looking at the schedule, and we're looking at the fact that you guys stay on that 600 times more than anything else. And the conversation now is centered around, what do we do to keep them there? They don't want to leave, but they want to get their work done. How do we make sure they can get all their work done? Appointment confirmations, pre-calls, post-calls, follow-up, surveys, notes, payments, tasks, completion of orders, updating of orders, monitoring pictures, taking time logs, making sure it's all now. Contact of clients like email, text, SMS, it all can be done through the schedule in just a few clicks. And you know what you've done. You can see the trail as you do it. So you can go from job to job to job using that side card. And so what would we do from that perspective is we took the lessons that we learned from mobile about nice, clean use cases and processes, and we built them directly into the desktop. And you can see it. If you hold your phone up and you go into a job, and then you go into the ServiceMonster schedule and you click on a job and you look at the sidecar, holy cats, it's damn near the same design.
Yep.
The layout's very similar and the approach is very similar and what you can do is very similar. There's some differences, obviously, but so that's kind of the arc there and what we went through. Recognizing how important the schedule was, recognizing where we went right with 5, where we went wrong with 6, where we went right with 6, spending the last year rebuilding it. And then at the end, because this happened at the end, realizing that there was a lot of time spent on the schedule. Let's make sure we can process these handful of use cases that make sense. Oh, let's embed the mobile job onto the sidecar. Boom. So that's kind of the evolution of there. So if you haven't checked it out yet, if you haven't went and looked and played with ServiceMonster 6 schedule, if you're on 5 and you're not sure, right, that's a big button when you come in right before you log in, try out 6. Go in there, go to the schedule, make sure you're on the new schedule. If you are, the button will say, go back to the old schedule, which doesn't mean 5. Right. Just to be, clear. But make sure you're on the new schedule and play with it. Check it out. It's fast as hell compared to the old one. That's the number one benefit. It loads schedules that took a minute and a half to load. It loads them in seconds, 6-7 seconds max. It's unbelievable. And then you can scroll right through. Just click, 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 bang, 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 jobs flying around. Everything's handled better. Everything's cleaner. All the process flows are there. The map integration is much better. So do you have anything specific you want to dive into on that new schedule?
I do have a couple of things. Before we go too far, there's 2 really cool things that touch a lot on what you just said. And it's why data is important. And that kind of goes for our users too. It's a different kind of data, but why would they using a CRM to begin with? But the massive page views for the schedule. So when we started with that, like we were talking about, like, okay, obviously this is the most important screen. As that conversation got deeper and deeper, what we really found out was part of the reason why the page views were higher was because they had to constantly leave the schedule, go to the account screen, go to the order screen, and then they're immediately, like you said,
yep,
please take me back to there. I got to be on there. And so I guess really just tying everything that you just said into that sense of that's what led to this whole discussion of they got to be able to do all of these things on the schedule. Otherwise, it's just a pointless, path out to come right back.
That's right.
And
the breadcrumb works really well for that.
Right.
If you want to go really deep, you're like, oh, I got to update this cat name. Fluffy died.
Right.
And now I might have to jump into the account, go to the profile tab, fix the cat name, hit save, use my breadcrumb to go back. Super, super easy. Yep. But if we can keep you on there for your most 80-20 rule, right?
Your core processes.
Yeah.
Yep. And so this is a really interesting thing that I wanted to touch on, that we had kind of a secret weapon in all of this with Skylar. And
oh, yeah.
And why, like, we really dove into the use cases specifically. So why don't you just kind of talk about the Super Agent program and why that helps so much in this design?
Well, thanks for opening the wound.
Yeah,
About this time last year, we shut down Super Agents, but it was a call center program that we offered to our clients. We ran for about 2 years, a little over 2 years. It ended up to be a distraction. We were making okay money off of it, and people were waiting to get on it. We did not have a sales problem with that product, and we were making enough money. We didn't have a margin problem with that product. We had a problem where, number one, the quality of service we were providing wasn't quite where I wanted it to be. So we were going to have to go through an effort and try to make that better, number one. Number two, the head of that department, who we'd put a lot of oomph behind, she needed to leave, family reasons and whatnot. It was sad for her. It was sad for us. But that culminated to, do we really need to keep this around, or is this a distraction? Because the hardest part about that was employing it, keeping people in those chairs. It's not a great position It's not fun. I wouldn't think it'd be fun just sitting there answering calls all day. Who am I going to be now? Who am I going to be now? Who am I going to be now? I got to be smiley. I got to be, and we're watching absolutely every scrap of thing you do. So if the phone's ringing, we're logging everything you're doing. And because the turnover was so high, I kind of didn't pay attention to it so much. So me as a leader, it was a black hole. Like there were people in there, I never really knew their names. They would come, they would work for 3 or 4 months, and then they would leave, and I wouldn't even know who they were. And every time I walk past that department, I feel bad. It's like, now I need to know who these people are. But it just happened so fast. We turned so many people over there. But one thing that we did is when we shut the department down, we had acquired about half the staff were kind of really solid people. And so we moved those people into various positions within ServiceMonster. Skylar was one of those people. He is now graduated into the primary sales person. When Javi left, it just made sense. He had already been helping out. Skylar's super nice guy. He's super hungry. He wants to do right. He's pushing the ball in the right direction. So he hits all of the points. He knew ServiceMonster really well, and he's got some charisma. So I'm like, hell yeah, let's have him catch sales for a while. But on this project, having him there as a resource to pull in and say, okay, you answered like 500 phone calls with people all over the nation using ServiceMonster. How can we make this, so that in your world, this would have been really super dead dumb easy and simple, and we could have kept you on the schedule. And so, yeah, we were able to use that in-house knowledge using ServiceMonster every single day, just like our clients do, to kind of identify those core processes. It's something that our competitors will never understand. Like most of them don't understand their client anyway, not to the level that we do. And they take that for granted. And then they'll do some things where they're like showing, I really know you guys. And it's just so awkward and weird because they don't really know them. Crocs ain't going to cut it. So it's just, it's just knowing your client and really making sure you understand their point of view. So it takes a lot of empathy to do what we do and then deliver features and UI and help and employees, frankly, that are in alignment with what we're trying to do to help you guys with your business. Yeah.
So let's take that and, we could talk about each little feature on the schedule, but the sidecar is the most important.
Yep, we talked about that.
But the next kind of evolution was one of the sections that we started on was the job details and being able to have that on without expanding your column width. So I sometimes take it for granted because at home I've got a gaming PC, I've got a crazy setup. Here at work we've got 2 monitors, they're large monitors to make us more efficient and so on. So when I'm looking at the schedule, I've got all this screen space, right? Like I don't care about my column width. Some people are working on laptops. Some people are working on one monitor that may be smaller, 21 inch, 23 inch, whatever. And when they would turn the details on, if they had more than 2 routes or so, all of a sudden their weak view would go from, I can see everything, to I can see 2 or 3 days. Right. Because it forces that to make it look nicer.
That's right.
And so kind of diving into, we wanted to have that be able to be turned on at all times for anyone, no matter how many routes they might have, to be able to see that. Now, it's not as clean. It's not, as aesthetically pleasing when it's super narrow.
Let me stop you there because there's an interesting path here.
Yep.
Because if you look at just the core differences between ServiceMonster 5 and ServiceMonster 6, one of the things that ServiceMonster 5, we started getting feedback like weeks before we released 6. People are like, ServiceMonster 5 is kind of antiquated. Like I know that's why we spent the last 4 years rebuilding the entire product that we're going to release in like 2 weeks. So that was an interesting period of time. But that design, that kind of what we would call a Web 2.0 based design, was one of the first of its kind, and everybody did it. after we had kind of, because it was a natural progression. I'm not saying that they stole ServiceMonster's UI look, but it was just the natural next thing, right? And so when we produced that in '06, we're like, yeah, usually tech lasts 3 or 4 years before we need to swap it out, right? And I'm like, you know what? We probably got 6 years on this overall design just because we were so far ahead of the pack, and then it just merged right in with it. So that was kind of neat. And then ServiceMonster 6 dropped, same thing. We're way far out. I think more companies that start up can start quicker with whatever cool new material design is happening at the moment, while we have to deal with legacy stuff. So it's like turning a battleship in a bathtub sometimes, right? Where these guys can just spin shit up, and they have all the support too. Like AWS has a free tier, Azure has a free tier. Like I can get a free Visual Studio, I can whack a couple hours at night, and boom, next thing you know, I've got a SaaS business.
Right.
And it's ridiculous how fast these guys have been popping and dying and popping and dying. They'll get to 20,000 MRR, monthly recurring revenue, and then just disappear and then be like, nope. That failed. So watching these guys ebb and flow out. But for us, changing those designs takes a little while. And so when we do something new, I always want to try to be as far ahead as we can be. And so ServiceMonster 6 does that very well. But the upgraded designs, things are flatter. They're airier. There's more margin and more space. There's more colors typically, right? Things are just more modern. So you look at 6, you're like, damn, that's pretty. I even saw a post about a dude who uses one of our competitors going on and on and on about, yeah, he's been using for years and does everything he needs to do and all that stuff. And then ended it with, but yeah, ServiceMonster sure is pretty. I was just like, sweet. Like you can't even be mad at us.
Right.
You know what I mean? But here's where that pretty fell apart. The damn schedule.
Yep.
Because you can't be light and airy and flat and good design of what, let's call it Web 3.0. I just made that up. It's not a thing, but we were calling Web 2.0 a thing. That was a thing in 05, 06. But this isn't. But I'll say that airiness, that modern material design that ServiceMonster 6 has is horrible for a schedule. And if you look at something like Google, they were Web 2.0 on their schedule. The general layout and feel is kind of Web 3.0, but the schedule itself is kind of Web 2.0, but they have a minimal amount of data. They don't have a lot. So you know what we did? We went back to freaking 98 when we used to build enterprise level screens packed with data. And so we said, okay, general overall design, nice, airy, it's beautiful. The colors Aaron did are amazing. He's got a now line that runs across. It's just gorgeous. The way that the route colors influence the routes at the header, like again, all very well done, fit right within that material design. And then you start throwing jobs on there full of details and you're back in 1998. But it looks good. But it's just packed with data. Absolutely packed with data. And so, but that's what they want. That's what they want.
Exactly.
That's right.
And so now you can have it at different column widths. You can go into your settings, and that's really just kind of what I wanted to showcase is go in there, only show what you want to see.
That's right.
But you have the option to show all of it if you want to.
So many things you can turn off and on.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we even took it one step further where those who don't want to see any of the details, but they do also want to see, snap information. So it's kind of one of those have your cake, eat it too situations. So we also gave, that little, the
show details button,
the status bar. So you can see a couple of those actions, what status is the job at.
That's right.
So you don't have to have anything else. There's no text.
That's right.
You can still see some of those things.
Yeah. And that status bar has like 3 things. It'll let you know if it's paid or not. Yep. It'll let you know what the current status of the job is. What's the middle one?
The middle one is the job type.
Job type, that if it's pick up, drop off, whatever it is. So just by looking at it, you know what's up.
Yep.
And then some of the things that we're going to do too, that we made sure that this design and architecture lended itself for, is some of the stuff we want to do in the future is like blocking off schedule, right? So we say, oh no, this tech, he's going to be out for a week, so we're going to shut his route down. We're going to move the schedule stuff around, and then we're not going to allow you to schedule on there anymore, or maybe allow you, but you have to go jump through a hoop, say, oh yeah, no, I know, yes, I want to do it anyway. However we lay that out. So that's one. Another one is colors, right? That's been a big thing. I want to see custom colors like in 5.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. And proximity colors. Okay. Sure. And then order group colors. So being able to create an order group and associate that with a color. And instead of the weirdness that's 5, where a color could be a proximity color or a custom color, you're not really sure. What we're going to do is in 6 with the new schedule, allow you to select how you want to see your color. So you drop down a list at the top and you say, show me prox colors, whoosh, right? All the colors, and they'll be proximity based. Show me custom colors, whoosh. They'll all be custom colors. Or show me job type, whoosh. Or show me order group, whoosh, right? So that's kind of where we're headed with some of those new features that we'll be able to work on now that we have a schedule, I feel, that we can really move forward on.
Yeah.
Because we knew, how long did it take? I would say it took us about 9 months to realize after 6 came out that we were going to have to rebuild the schedule. Mostly because of performance with really large companies. If you've had more than 30 routes, 20 routes, it was sluggish.
It was pretty bad.
We had one client with like 106 routes. It was like took, a minute and a half, 2 minutes to load that screen per action. You drag something around and then you have to wait 2 more minutes. So that was just horrific. But they were using the filtering mechanism to a good degree, because obviously you can't deal with 105 routes at a time anyways.
Right.
But it still wasn't right. Now it's like bam, 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 bam. They were one of our first test cases to make sure that the tech was really working well. So
yeah,
that's it, kids. Kind of a peek behind the curtain of what we went through and where it's at now. I think we're feeling pretty good. Probably next week, we're going to make it the only option for new ServiceMonster 6 users. We'll leave the ability to toggle it on or off for our current users for a little bit longer, and then we'll take that button away and probably stash it somewhere else. That's what will end up happening.
And that's actually the one other thing I really wanted to touch on is we definitely learned our lesson on that on the new quick add. Is when we had the new quick add come out, because it's tied to something that's so core to your guys' workflow, making that change and having to learn that on the fly, not a great experience.
Wasn't appreciated.
Yeah, kind of wanted to be able to like learn that on your own time for over a couple of weeks and then start using it. And so I think that's another one of those just kind of lessons. Yep. And sort of just like, okay, the schedule is going to take some time for them to learn. Let's give them the time to learn. Just give them the time to hop back to the old schedule. If someone's on the phone, jump back, handle it. Then I can go back and play with the new features when it's not a time crunch.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's all I got.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for your attention today. If you feel like it, feel free to like and subscribe, click whatever bell. See us on all of your favorite YouTube and podcast platforms, Facebook and Instagram. And until next time, be safe.
Yep. Take care.